Λοιπόν, ο επόμενος ομιλητής μας, όπως δηλώνει ο ίδιος, είναι Αυστραλοαμερικανός Έλληνας, περήφανος για την ελληνική του καταγωγή και έχει τις ρίζες του από το Καστελόριζο. Θεωρείται από τις μεγαλύτερες επιχειρηματικές προσωπικότητες παγκοσμίως. Είναι ένας πολυπράγμων δραστήριος άνθρωπος με μεγάλες επιτυχίες στο ενεργητικό του. Διοικεί έναν από τους ισχυρότερους αμερικανικούς ομίλους, με τζίρο δισεκατομμυρίων δολαρίων, ξεπερνάνε τα 60 δις, αν είμαι σωστός, και 45.000 εργαζόμενους παγκοσμίως. Είναι σύμβουλος του Αμερικανού Προέδρου Μπαράκ Ομπάμα και βεβαίως, κάτι εξαιρετικά σημαντικό, εμπνευστής της ιδέας του Hellenic Initiative, μιας πρωτοβουλίας ομογενών επιχειρηματιών για τη στήριξη της επιχειρηματικότητας και της καινοτομίας στην Ελλάδα. Θα μας μιλήσει γι' αυτό ο Άντριου. Αλλά δεν περιορίζεται μόνο σε αυτά. Είναι επίσης μέλος του Διοικητικού Συμβουλίου της IBM, είναι πρόεδρος του Διεθνού Συμβουλίου των Ενώσεων Χημικών Εταιριών, αντιπρόεδρος του Αμερικανικού Επιχειρηματικού Συμβουλίου, ενώ συμμετέχει στα διοικητικά συμβούλια του Ιδρύματος Dow, του Αμερικανικού Συμβουλίου για Διεθνείς Επιχειρηματικές Δραστηριότητες και του Πανεπιστημίου Tufts. Βεβαίως, πρόκειται για τον, όπως καταλάβατε, για τον Ανδρέα Λιβέρη, του οποίου η ιστορία ξεκινάει από το Darwin, στην Αυστραλία, όπου γεννήθηκε και ζούσε με την οικογένειά του μέχρι το θάνατο του πατέρα του. Βρέθηκε στο Queensland, στην ενδοχώρα, όπου σπούδασε χημικός μηχανικός με κρατική υποτροφία. Παρά το γεγονός ότι κέρδισε μια ακόμα υποτροφία να συνεχίσει τις σπουδές του στο Πανεπιστήμιο της Οξφόρδης, εκείνος την απέρριψε, ακούγοντας τη συμβουλή του καθηγητή και μέντορά του να δοκιμάσει την πραγματική ζωή, the real life, the real commercial life. Και επέλεξε να εργαστεί στην Dow, ξεκινώντας μια λαμπρή, όπως αποδείχθηκε στα διαδρομία. Η ανωδική του πορεία στην κλίμακα της εταιρικής ιεραρχίας ήταν συνεχής. Εργάστηκε ως χημικός μηχανικός, πέρασε στην παραγωγή, στις πωλήσεις, στο μάρκετινγκ, στη διοίκηση. Το 2004 έγινε διευθύνων σύμβουλος, ενώ 2 χρόνια αργότερα εκλέχθηκε και πρόεδρος του Διοικητικού Συμβουλίου της Dow. Ο Άντριου ξέρει καλά τι σημαίνει να αντιμετωπίζεις δύσκολες καταστάσεις, να διοικείς ανθρώπους, κουλτούρες, να δραστηριοποιείς επιχειρηματικά στην παγκόσμια αγορά. Κατά γενική ομολογία, έχει καταφέρει με άριστο τρόπο να διαχειρίζεται κρίσεις με επιτυχία. Χαιρόμαστε που είναι σήμερα εδώ και περιμένουμε με πολύ ενδιαφέρον να τον ακούσουμε. It's an honor and pleasure, Andrea Liveri, to have you with us. Please.
Ευχαριστώ, Γιάννη. Μιλάω λίγο ελληνικά, but δεν είναι τόσο καλά και ντρέπομαι να μιλάω τώρα, θα μιλήσω εγγλέζικα. Η μαμά μου ήταν πολλές χρόνια να μαθαίνει με ελληνικά στο σπίτι μου, ήταν μικρός. Και δεν το έχω τα ξεχάσει. Και όταν πηγαίνω πίσω στο Καστελόριζο, ύστερα από 1 εβδομάδα μπορώ να μιλάω πιο καλά. But σήμερα θα μιλήσω εγγλέζικα, αγγλικά. So give me a second and I'll acclimatize for my colleagues from Dow who are here. I'm going to speak in English, don't worry, okay? So thank you, Yanni, for that great introduction. And I really understood it all. And I really appreciate being with your association of CEOs and your responsibility to be the business leaders of this great country. And indeed, it's an honor to be in our homeland, our beloved country. I really find it strange, as I've already indicated with my Greek, that even I don't speak English with an American accent. I am actually not from these shores, as already indicated, because I've been born and bred in a country that also has great beaches and serves its meat, but not on a skewer, like a souvlaki, but on a barbecue. So I do understand what it's like to come from a beautiful country. But as I said, even though technically I'm not from Greece, I consider this my homeland. You see, many Greek diaspora like me have been raised in the traditions of Greece, and the traditions matter. As already indicated, both my father and mother were born in Greece, and my grandparents on both sides obviously are Greeks. But I was afforded an opportunity. Like many parents of immigrants, they wanted to educate their children and to give them the opportunity they could not find in their homeland. They worked hard to put us through education and give us the privilege of having a quality of life we could not find at the time they had to leave, which was in the main after the devastation of World War II. Greeks share something very profound. Greeks share values about their worldview and their life choices. We share a passion about the things that matter most. And yes, we sometimes share passions about things that don't matter to anyone else at all. We argue about everything. We care about everything. But we have a deep and abiding knowledge and responsibility to our families and to our friends, our countrywomen and our countrymen, especially in times of crisis. A responsibility to honor Greece's unique inheritance, its history as the architect of Western civilization, by building in this nation a nation worthy of the contributions of this nation to the world. We share that passion. We see it as our obligation and responsibility. And today, of course, we have a newfound urgency. And I would like to call it a remarkable opportunity. As already said to Yanis and others, I'm an optimist. I guess to be a CEO, you have to be an optimist about the world. You have to see the solution, not the problem. You have to see the light at the end of the tunnel, not the darkness as you enter. You have to believe. You have to have beliefs. And you have to drive that with energy. I think we all agree on what we must do. I'm pretty sure I'm talking to a group of leaders who know that. We must turn this economy around. It's on our mutual shoulders. I don't think that's the question. The question is, how? And I would like to share my perspective on some thoughts on how that might be done. This shared objective, this obligation of this generation. We meet at a critical time, a critical juncture. We are literally at the tipping point for the people and the economy of this great nation. The early moments of what feels like and should be the beginning, not the end, the beginning of a multi-decade endeavor. And make no mistake, for those who think this is a solution that can be done in a moment, a day, a week, a month, a year, you are mistaken. It's a multi-decade endeavor. But it's the start. It's the beginning. And that's good news. Things are stabilizing. If you follow the stock market, maybe many of your companies have seen high returns, with the ACEOs up 80%. And those early opportunists are back. The hedge fund guys and the junk bond buyers and the bond buyers are saying, you know what? They're going to make it. They're going to be around. These are good news. These are good things. Of course, they're not the whole picture. They're only the beginning. However, many more investors are beginning to rethink about Greece. They're starting to say, even though the banks are not yet recapitalized, even though credit is still frozen and you find it hard to get cash and liquidity, and we know many small and medium-sized enterprises are feeling the squeeze, many of you know, despite your intentions, that you still can't invest. you still can't expand. You still can't hire more people. And therefore, you cannot yet, with your full might, lift up your communities the way you used to be able to do. But history's on your side. Like Ireland in the 19th century or Eastern Europe in the 20th, greatest export is its greatest issue. Right now, it's exporting the one thing it shouldn't. I'm one of your early exports. You're exporting human capital. 35,000 of you have your best and brightest have already left just for Germany. I was just there in Germany. I asked a room full of people, who is from Spain? Hands went up, quite a lot. Who's from Greece? Quite a few hands. Yes, migration is a Greek skill. Over 2,500 years of migrating and conquering and moving ourselves around the world. But these are a lost opportunity for a free society like this country. What's happening today is not happening from poverty like it used to after World War II. It's happening from the educated literate who've been trained here, maybe worked here, that can no longer find a job here. So as you look at this beginning, even though it's multi-decade, the urgency of reversing the flight of human capital is the burning platform you all have to address. We've got to start rebuilding this country's institutions now, from scratch, from the beginning. Yes, rebuilding this country's institutions. Yes, remaking the public sector. Fostering a climate that encourages investment, attracts and rewards capital, and instills confidence. And we must recognize that credibility comes first. Then after that, it becomes legitimate, not lip service. And let me add, when I say we, I do mean all of us. Greece's public sector, the international community, including the diaspora, and yes, you too. In particular, you too. The CEOs, the leading members of the Greek business community, and all the professional groups that are part of that. I say we because the challenges are too big to do it alone. We can only do it together. Now, it's worth remembering that Greeks invented the idea of solving things together. After all, we're in the cradle of democracy. We must all recognize that this country's government has a role to play in creating those conditions for growth, as much as a role than any other institution. To some degree, it's begun to do this. The Greek government, and I have personal experience with your Prime Minister, in particular, has the right intent, the right will. It's important for you to hear me say, as a member of the global business community, that I believe this leader has started on the right foot. Forget his history. Judge his present and help him with the future. At the same time, we know that investor confidence does not come alone, but it goes hand in hand with government credibility. And this government has a lot more to do on that front. We must continue to not just use our votes, which matter, but our voices. And in case you think I'm picking on you, I actually say this everywhere I go. Businesses have to have partnership with government. In America, we often get confused between the notion of small government and big government. That's no longer the debate. The debate is smart government. And if they're not smart, educate them. You, the business community, have to be the leading voices and demonstrate the elimination of waste, fraud, corruption, tax evasion. If it's not you that's doing any of those, and I hope it's not, show them how to actually catch the ones that are. Don't just talk about it, show them collectively. Of course, I'm not naive. This grey hair will tell you that I've been around a lot of places. I've lived in a lot of countries. I've seen a lot of governments. I've seen every version of corruption done badly. But I belong to an institution that believes in the greater good, that wherever we go, we take the highest standard, wherever it may come from, and we treat humanity to the highest standard wherever we are. And that highest standard is our responsibility to operate in any country on this planet. Whatever the government may or may not accomplish, the rest of us cannot afford to be passive. We all have to be active, because the Greek government cannot do it on its own. This is why, back to my introduction, I need to spend a few minutes talking to you about how to marshal the international community. Indeed, the international community truly has been there for Greece during its moment of need. You know it wasn't pretty. It was very ugly. But you've had 240 billion euros injected into Greece since 2010. If that isn't a statement that the international community wants Greece to be here, as part of the euro, as part of the world community, that the world believes in Greece, that's a big vote of confidence that Greeks can be who they were in their past, their recent past. The Greek diaspora needed to do more. So last year, I took the initiative to act and not just talk. A few of us got together and established the beginnings of an institution that over a multi-decade process will do for Greece what has happened for Ireland and is what has happened for Israel. And that is to bring the international community, to bring the people of Greek descent to the table as equals to help rebuild the Greece of the future. The Hellenic Initiative is not here to tell you what to do. It's not even here to tell you how to do it. It's here to be a partner in helping you do it. It's a grassroots movement. It's taking traction. We've enlisted partners. We've got support. Its patron is President Clinton and the Archbishop of the Greek Orthodox Church in the United States. It's a crawl, walk, run approach. Siga, siga. We've reached out to members of all the world's Greek international community: Australia, UK, Dubai, Germany, Brazil. We're building, with the help of the church, a philanthropic arm, partnering, for instance, with SOS Children's Villages, an organization that provides orphan children throughout Greece with the housing and support they need. We all weep when we read the stories of hungry Greek children. Our parents and grandparents remember what they left, and this should never happen in Greece again. We're also assisting local businesses around the country, equipping them with the capital and the tools they need to get their ideas off the ground. On our board are examples of this who have taken it upon themselves to lead the initiative. People like George Logothetis from the Libra Group has started a program that, in large part to him, will be able to provide €500,000 a year for startup funding for every year for the next 10 years. €500,000. All of this is necessary work, but it's not sufficient. More is required, certainly of the diaspora and the international community at large. Let me be clear. The Hellenic Initiative is an initiative to help Greek companies with a model for creating growth, maybe companies like yours. It's not a miracle. It's not going to do it overnight. It's to provide a platform of know-how and capability to help you all. A blueprint. Indeed, it is up to you on how to do that, but to the extent that we can help you who call Greece home, who call Greece your headquarters, We can help you write the country's course, make it go in the right way. Now, I recognize that it's not in the business community's power to recapitalize the banks. It's not in your power to thaw a frozen credit market. It's not in your power to eliminate government corruption, although you certainly should hold your leaders to account. But make no mistake, you have one particular power. You are masters and madams of your own domain. You can control what you can control. Within your business, there are smart businesses everywhere. By the way, that's not unique to Greece. It's a management system that makes a company like Dow work. Whether you're large, medium, or small, controlling what you can control is an idea of very strong relevance in this economy now. The fact is, as individual companies, we can't change the macro environment. All we can change is how our organizations respond to it. Indeed, you must have fiscal excellence, financial excellence, and operational excellence as your highest standard within your enterprise. By doing that, you impact more people than you can ever know. You impact your supply chains. You impact your customers. You impact your communities. By setting that standard for yourself, you can also increase your focus. Every extra funds you have out of the right to operate, you can put into innovation to create the next platform. In fact, by being operationally disciplined on what you can control, you automatically control what you can innovate and invent to create the next best product that if you can't sell in the domestic economy, you export. And in fact, if you export first and settle the domestic economy second, the domestic economy grows. And export-led economies are, in fact, how economies do grow. I have lived for 25 years in Asia. I have firsthand helped and been part of Thailand's growth, Singapore's, Malaysia's, Korea's, Taiwan's, Japan's originally. When you go to South America, when you go to these economies, it's their quality of exports that help their domestic sector. These are business imperatives in your hands. You can do this through this crisis, through this volatility. And Greece needs you to do this because ultimately, the people who revive and rebuild nations are the owners and managers of companies, the ones who do pay the taxes, who build the schools, who create the jobs, and who do it in one community and one business at a time, no matter how large or small. So let me go to 3 specific steps on what you can do to control what you can control, and then, of course, take your questions. To state the obvious, Greek companies and Greece itself needs to revisit its strengths, or rather, its industries of strength. Across the globe, in my experience and many companies of global nature's experience, many smart governments, not big governments, not small governments, smart governments, have worked with the private sector to identify sectors that they are advantaged in. They inventory their capabilities in their sectors, and they decide together how to jointly incentivize and invest in those sectors. They don't pick winners and losers, they pick sectors. Nation states who do this and do this well do it in concert in public-private partnerships with the private sector. I am strongly urging Prime Minister Samaras to set up such a body so that Greece can show the world which sectors it can win in and put a sign up on the door, I am open for business in these sectors. We must, to borrow an American phrase, put our money where our mouth is. Now, I know Greece is not China, to state the obvious. It's 11 million people, not 1.3 billion. However, this country does have resources. Greece possesses the entrepreneurial spirit of Silicon Valley. Greece possesses the hustle and entrepreneurship and moxie, to use a very American term, of New York's Wall Street. And Greece possesses the natural beauty of Greece. It's an amazing combination of capability of its human capital and its physical beauty and capital. I'm not going to repeat the findings here of McKinsey and Brookings. The studies have been done. They're waiting. They're waiting to be picked up. We know where Greece can invest and where it can be successful in. One area is specialty foods. A food area, if you like, that belongs to strong brands and compete globally while commanding a premium price. It's an area of great mystery to me why the new brand of Greek yogurt in America is not owned by Greeks. Another quite amazing mystery to me is Greek shipping, which seems to be shipping everywhere except with Greece. Why does it take the Chinese to come and buy your ports? Or consider medicine, and particular medical tourism. When I look at people who have medical problems and look at the talent of the medical profession in Greece, and if you gave people the choice of being operated on in Mumbai or Thessaloniki, I know where I'd go, and it is in Mumbai. With some of the finest doctors in the world, Greece can capture this market. And of course, the areas of luxury tourism, the areas of information, communication, and technology. Greece graduates an impressive number of engineers every year, and they have the potential to create a hub, a corporate IT center, right here in Greece. I know this is not easy. These are the beginnings. That's the key word. But in fact, the foundation of them doesn't even yet exist. We need to get the Greek government in partnership to help create those foundations. Building these industries will take know-how, will take money, massive amounts of money. And that is one reason why the public-private partnership model has to work. And of course, that's the second point I want to make. If we're honest with ourselves, Greeks are not known for the term partnership. I've been told often the derivation of the word ego is from the Greek word ewo. This country is not just ego and ewo. You're an example of a partnership. This whole room is a partnership. But Greek companies often don't work well across borders. We need to change that. If you have role models, find them. Build your joint ventures. Build your joint ventures with your near neighbors. Yes, with Turkey. Yes, with the Middle East, with North Africa. Yes, create hubs for them to enter the EU. Yes, bring those partnerships here. Yes, become the multicultural nation that you're destined to be. Borders are porous. You're not going to be able to stop the illegal immigrants. So make them legal. Change the way Greeks think about the world in a multicultural sense. Trust me, if Germany can do it, Greece can do it. I was in a town hall meeting in Germany at a large site up in the northern part of Germany. The diaspora of Europe was there, as was the diaspora of Turkey, and yes, Greeks. We need to find a way to bring the best and brightest to come here in a partnership model. If you're going to export, you're going to need to find those partnerships internationally. The third area where Greek businesses need to do more is, in fact, integrating with the world. It's a shame that Greek companies have to move to London to do that. Athens should rebuild itself as an international hub of business. Athens should start to do what other countries have figured out. It's no longer a community of countries. It's a community of cities. The world is moving to cities. Rural populations will continue to exist. But city-states, isn't that strange that I say that near Athens? One of the original city-states are coming back. Cities are figuring out how to be competitive. Cities are figuring out how to marry universities with government institutions and private sector partnerships first. And from there, you build out to to other cities. Athens, Thessaloniki, Piraeus. Pick your favorite Greek city, but start with a view that it's from that city you're going to be competitive. And of course, if you think that way and interconnect that way and make it a hub, you will bring people from international locations there. You'll send your people internationally. If Dow Chemical can create an international hub in the middle of nowhere, Michigan, in a town of 50,000 people, where I have over 100 nationalities in that town, and run a global business in 155 countries from that town, I think you can do it in Athens. How to implement these strategies, how to do it, the Hellenic Initiative is working on this as we speak. We have partnered with local institutions here in Greece, and great companies like the Coca-Cola Hellenic Botanic Company are helping us. They're helping us on philanthropy, and they're helping us on this institution that I talked about. We're about to launch our investment fund. I welcome your participation. We'll give you any details you want. Philanthropy, investment fund, entrepreneurial innovation fund. All of these launched by the diaspora for decades, not for 1 year. As long as I have credibility and a reputation in the international business community, I have made a personal decision to help Greece. I will do it for as long as I can from this role and use it with my colleagues in the international business community to help build the credibility that you all so desperately need as successful businessmen and businesswomen in the international community. No country can survive unless it invests its credibility and reputation for the most important reason of them all, your kids. If we don't do it for this next generation, and that means me as well as you, in a partnership model, Greece will be left behind. We will do it, and instead of calling it the American dream, we can call it the Greek dream. And it's a dream that can be fulfilled. It's one that takes the art of the impossible, the theme of your conference, and gives you some practical possibilities. I won't flip a switch. The light won't come on or off. I might not even build a power plant to supply you the electricity. But I can give you the sun, which shines brightly on this country. I can give you the Socratic thinking that came from this country that philosophized and created the backbone of the human spirit in the modern world. The Romans said Rome wasn't built in a day. It took them a century to copy Greece's ideas. You can't control the macro, but you can control what you can control. Somewhere in this city, sometime around 2,500 years ago, Athenians gathered to mark the end of the first year of the Peloponnesian War. It was a memorial service, especially for the soldiers who had died fighting Sparta. And when Pericles, the great Athenian statesman, rose to give the funeral oration, he praised the resolve of the city and its citizens. Athens, he said, alone of the states we know, comes to her testing time with greatness, surpassing what was imagined of her. 20, 30, 50 years from now, we will say the same about Greek resolve, Greek resilience, and yes, Greek greatness. Greece has come to its testing time with greatness surpassing what was imagined of her. I think they will say that. And I, for one, will help you all so we can all say it in our generation. Thank you, and I'm willing to take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liveris. I think that was an inspiring talk. I wish our politicians could speak like you. Any questions? Έρχεται.
Thank you, Mr. Liveris. We really felt a little pride today of being Greeks, you know. Now, just a quick question. You talked about reconstruction, something that we've been hearing a lot from a lot of politicians, restructuring, remaking Greece, etc. But how can you imagine this, given the political chaos that we are living, actually? So you know what I mean by the word chaos. So your view, please, on this.
I'm a little worried about the camera there, but I'm going to take a risk because, firstly, I'm Greek, and secondly, I'm Australian. You put the two together, we take a lot of risks. And so I'm going to take a risk. Who in this room, and I'll say any politician, but let me say your politician, whoever that may be, trusts your politician? Put your hand up if there's someone in the room who trusts their politician. But you voted for them. Now, why did you vote for your politician? Clearly not trust.
No other choice.
No choice? Where's the best source of smart people to run anything? Why don't you run? I know why I don't run. Because it's hard. It's hard. In today's media world, you have to be perfect. Who in the room is perfect? I'm looking for one. I got one hand that time. I like Greek optimism, and I think it's important. I think I'm making a point to you that political life in this modern era, where the media is attacking every single move you do, where you're being judged in the court of public opinion through social media and all the various instruments of social media. I mean, it's hard being a CEO in that world, let alone a politician that is not voted by everybody. And by definition, no politician gets 100%. And in this country, you don't have any particular group that's getting any sort of percent. It's the least bad that you vote for. And as a consequence of that, it's very difficult for them to have sustained policies. And policies is what politicians should be elected for, not to be re-elected. You don't elect a politician who wants to be re-elected. A permanent campaigner is not what you want. You want someone who doesn't care if they get re-elected if they do the right thing. But to do the right thing is not popular, and to be popular is what gets you elected. That is true everywhere. And it's not just true in Greece. So the first thing you've got to think about is, it's not just your politicians here. It's everywhere. And as a global businessman, I got to tell you, it is hard going from corridors of government, no matter where. In the last month, I've been in Japan, I've been in Korea, I've been, 5 or 6 other countries. Just this week, 5 or 6 countries. They do not want to do the long-term thing if it's unpopular. Why has Germany banned nuclear power? The most nonsense idea of all time in energy policy. Germans are going to pay 2 times, 3 times, 5 times the cost of energy if they have no nuclear. Because it's popular. So, to restructure your economy, in my talk, you have to form public-private partnership no matter how bad the other side is. And you have to have hope that you can educate them. And if they get thrown out of power, educate the next ones. If they get thrown out of power, educate the next ones. Eventually, smart people like you will say, you know what, I'm going to run for office. I'm going to get into power. I'm going to be the politicians of the future. For those of you near retirement, those who feel like you want to hand it over to someone, it's the most noble thing you can do. But I've got to tell you, it's a hard thing to do. I like to say in America, and I'm going to get deported one day, so I need a Greek passport, please, if you can get me here. I like to say in America The country, unfortunately, is being run by lawyers in Washington, bankers in New York, and actors from Hollywood. That's where we get our politicians from. The business people don't get elected because they speak the truth. But you've got to keep trying. You've got to help them. You've got to educate them. You've got to work with them. And you've got to show them how business can succeed and what it needs to succeed. And from there, the beginnings of restructuring will occur. Another question?
Any? Yes.
I'm really happy to listen to you. I come from the other side, from Canada, child of the diaspora. So you make me very proud today. I'm over 25 years in Greece, so I'm fighting here. But I can't invite you, but I can make a suggestion. There's a rounded discussion with the Greek government, The Economist does, every year. I think it's in May. You should be there next year.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm getting, as you might guess, quite a few invitations. I'm quite honored to be invited. I've accepted this one because of you. Honestly, and your story is an example of it. If Greece gets something from this community, then Greece has a chance. Because you're successful. You know what it means to be successful. You've seen it. You run things. Operational excellence, I talked about, you know, your company here. I mean, I know that you've got success in this room. So we've got to permeate it. And that's, with these roundtables and all these forums, hopefully you go to them, all of you go to them. We've got to get more of the international community. I got to tell you, it was very hard to form the Hellenic initiative. In fact, because it was so hard, I kept doing it, because I like a challenge. But this challenge was incredibly difficult, because overseas Greeks had tried to help Greece before and lost their money, got cheated, hit corrupt governments, and said, they can't help themselves, what are we going to do? And now many of you have maybe good American partners, good international, multinational companies that you work for. You know the system that works, right? You've seen it. But unfortunately, the public sector has no clue. And I think that's where I think these forums can be of use. I know that wasn't a question, but I thought I'd make a comment for you. Is that Greek? EU, yeah.
Any other questions?
One in the middle.
The lady, Maria. Just speak on the microphone, please.
My name is Maria Dimou. I'm a management consultant, and from what we understood, you are in contact with the present government, and especially our Prime Minister. Could you tell us what makes this government, since they know, discussing with you, with McKinsey, all those studies, not making the machine run faster? What is there that stops them of doing the right changes?
It's a great question. It's a source of frustration. Clearly, your question shows that, and maybe all of you have the same experience. It's my own frustration. And again, the world of politics is somewhat foreign to me other than my observation of it. But my interpretation of the slowness here by this leader is because of two things that he had to cope with at the beginning that are somewhat better now, not totally gone away. Number one, he had a coalition that was almost unmanageable. And just connecting this coalition together is, and I've witnessed some of it, it's dysfunctional, very dysfunctional, okay? And again, not unusual. I've seen dysfunctional coalitions in other countries. My home country of Australia has one right now. Australia has a coalition government that's dysfunctional. And we haven't seen it in 50 years in Australia. And here it is. Now, this is what he put together to create a government and to get the left and the right and, you know, all the middle, the little middle that he had to agree to anything was job one. What was the second thing? To get them to agree to the terms of the extension on the bailout. Your country was running out of money. You're still 156% debt to GDP. You are not out of trouble. You've just bought time, which is important to buy, okay? Because with time, you can build credibility, all the things I talked about. So 1 and 2 was all he could concentrate on. This growth side, stabilization, this beginning of institutional capability, public-private partnerships, he's got all the material. I think he's made a couple of major moves lately. Okay, the privatization that just happened, the trip to China, which is a big thing. It's a big thing. You don't need Chinese know-how necessarily, but you certainly need Chinese money. Okay, so, and if they bring know-how, great. And I've worked in China, I've got partnerships in China. China is coming strong, okay, so don't worry. I mean, they won't take you over, but they're coming strong. They need to become global. And so the Chinese are going where the Americans aren't, okay? So what the government now needs to do, the leader, is start to pick up on some of these business ideas that you can help with. And I happen to believe that the geopolitical side is also very important. I don't know what your feeling is in the room. Who in the room does business with Turkey? Put your hands up if you do. The Greek-Turkish relationship, the rise of Turkey, and Turkey's ability to have geopolitical influence, and in particular, support of the United States with the Prime Minister's visit just last week, is a Greek opportunity if you ignore history. Can you ignore history? As a person whose parents lived 3 kilometers from the Turkish mainland that was Greek, it's a pretty difficult emotional discussion. Politically, it may be impossible. But your energy future is a few hundred miles off of the island that I was descended from in the natural gas fields of the Eastern Mediterranean. If a geopolitical alliance between Greece, Turkey, Israel, Lebanon, and Cyprus can be struck, you'll get natural gas that'll help the economies of this region in an incredible way. That one opportunity, if you can put aside the tensions, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, the old saying. So rather than going Greece, Israel, while Turkey does its thing, why don't you all get together? Now, I'd like to organize that round table. And it'll be a hard one to organize. You have opportunity. And I think your point is, can he start doing it? And I think he's begun, but it's the beginning.
And the last question.
Thank you, Andrea, for your excellent and inspiring speech. And congratulations for the Greek initiative. As you know, CEOs are good in implementing things, in execution. And politicians are bad on that and good on promises. So we have to educate them. And the initiative, the Hellenic initiative, of course, is in the right direction. How we can partnership your initiative, Hellenic initiative, with business people in Greece? Do you have any idea on that?
Yeah.
Or proposal?
Look, so Tanos Thomas, our president of Dauelas, who's right here in the front row, has been asking me over and over to find a way to connect with the successful Greek business environment. That's why I'm here. Now, you notice, you may or may not think I'm a salesman. I'm a poor salesman. I didn't sell you the Hellenic Initiative. I talked about it, and I'm hoping to attract you. Why? Because it's a big idea that potentially can die with the politicians. If this idea went to the politicians, your point, sayonara. Goodbye. It's over, okay? They'll use it to get elected and it's done. We're not like that. We do things, okay? We do things and we set metrics and milestones and we change behaviors. We know how to run organizations. You know how to do that. You have to teach how to organize a success model for a country. If this was the first time ever attempted, you might as well shoot me now. I don't want to do it. But it's been done multiple times. Metrics, advisory committees, implementation models. How can you join it? Become a Greek-based version of what we've started, okay? And we can go with proposals to the Prime Minister who would love them, okay? And if he's not the Prime Minister next year, the next Prime Minister would love them. Why would every politician love this? That one four-letter word, that's the most wanted four-letter word in humanity right now. Jobs. Jobs. And you are the jobs creators. You create the jobs. You're creating them. No one else. You're navigating all this volatility and not just surviving, you're thriving. You might have, stresses on your balance sheets and all the things you're worrying about, but you're doing it. You're doing point. So I happen to believe that what you can do as an association, as a group of CEOs, a group of businesses, and I'd be quite happy to, give you all the material you need, figure out how to organize this domestically to reflect the international effort. This should not be an international effort. This is, if Greeks overseas are telling you how to run your economy, that's a bad thing. We don't live here. We don't know what you put up with every day. I have a view of it after listening to Dow Elas. When I see how successful Dow Elas is, despite all this, I'm very proud. And in fact, I was at our factory today, at our sales office, and I told our 60-odd employees how proud I am of them. I'm proud of their safety record. I'm proud of their audit record, their ethics record. I'm proud of their credit record. I'm proud of their financial record. And to my customers in the room, thank you for helping us survive in this environment by being trusted partners to us. That's the model that you can form here domestically, and I'd encourage you to do that. So I think that was the last question. I just want to say, ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Είμαι εδώ για σας. So αν μπορώ να βοηθήσω, θα βοηθήσω. Αν δεν θέλεις με αυτό εδώ, είναι αυτό εδώ. Θα πάω στο Καστελόριζο. Αυτό το κάνω. Γεια σας.
Thank you. Thank you.